The following is paid advertisement does not reflect the opinions of this station. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. The information presented in this program is general and is not intended to be legal advice and should not be relied upon or used without consulting a lawyer to consider your specific circumstances.
Questions about law, stories from the courtroom, cases that might impact your life. It's time for Tell Me I Have a Case with Dan Grimm and Matt Glenn from Cook, Barkat, Ponder, and Wolves. Find them at cbpw-law.com. Here's Dan Grimm and Matt Glenn.
Good morning and welcome to the first episode of Tell Me I Have a Case. I'm attorney Matt Glenn of Cook, Barkat, Ponder, and Wolves, and I'm alongside my tag team partner Dan Grimm. Dan, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
And we're going to be broadcasting to you once a week, 7:30 in the morning on Saturdays, and we'll be inviting you to take a second look at the world of personal injury litigation. Before we get into all that, though, Dan, tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I grew up in St. Louis. I went to college down here at Southeast State University, and I went to law school at Southern Illinois. I've been in the community since 1989. Matter of fact, I love being here, and have two boys and a wife, and can't think enough of how great it is living in Cape Girardeau.
As I said, I'm Matt Glenn. I grew up in a community a lot like Cape Girardeau. It was in the middle of Kansas, a farming community, a hub community for a lot of smaller farming towns around it. Found my way to college out in South Carolina, and then to law school at Washington University in St. Louis. I have been practicing for 22 years, most of that spent on the defense side, a lot of it at an insurance company, actually in-house for a liability carrier. Have tried over 20 jury trials, and now for the last 6 years have worked down here with Mike Ponder. I used to say his clients used to sue my clients all the time, and I guess I didn't mess those cases up as bad as I thought I did, because he eventually hired me to come on down and join him. I love Cape Girardeau. I love this community. I believe it has a lot to offer. My kids are educated here. I've lived here now for 6 years, and I'm really excited to start this conversation.
Absolutely.
So as we begin, Dan, can you tell the folks a little bit about our law firm?
Sure. Collectively, the law firm has over 100 years experience handling personal injury cases. And the reason I say that, it's important because when people are looking for a lawyer to handle their personal injury case, you want a lawyer in a law firm that has years and years of experience doing that. The reason why I say that is that sometimes people have their family law attorney or their criminal defense attorney, and they may ask them about a question about personal injury work. I kind of analogize that to as if you needed brain surgery, you wouldn't go to your foot doctor for brain surgery. The same thing is in the legal world. The law firm handles anywhere from automobile crashes, to train crashes, medical malpractice, all matters involving personal injuries.
That's right. And as Dan said, we have I think it's 5 partners, 1 associate. Combined, we have over 100 years experience in litigating these types of cases, and it's really the only thing we do. If you need help with a criminal matter or a divorce matter, you can call us and we can find you a great lawyer. But that lawyer's not going to be us. We are specialists. And what we really focus on is when someone has been in an accident of some kind, whether they've been injured because of a product or been injured because of a car accident or injured because of a fall, it's really something has been taken from them. And what we do, what we specialize in, is helping you get back everything that was taken from you.
That's absolutely correct.
And before you do that, the first thing you need to know is, what's gone? What has been taken? I use this analogy. If you had your house broken into and you get home and your stuff's been gone through and some things are missing, it might take you a few minutes to find, the cash that you had in your drawer that's missing, or your wallet, or something that's important to you. But you might not go up in the attic and look at the old family heirlooms that they might have gone up and taken right away. And you wouldn't spend 5 minutes looking around your house, making a quick list and give that to your insurance company. You would be a lot more thorough than that. And we could help you be that thorough.
That's absolutely true. I mean, we see this time and time again with clients that come in that initially they think they're going to be okay. They hope they're going to be okay. But it's not until later they realize that I'm not getting better. In fact, things are getting worse. These things take time. And it takes time, like your analogy about the house. It takes time to understand how you're not only affected now by your injuries, but also how these injuries are going to affect you into the future, in the rest of your life.
And that's really it. And I saw this when I was on the defense side, and I've seen it since I came over to our side of things. when you've been injured through no fault of your own, you are going to be forced to deal with three really large institutions in this country. You're going to deal with the healthcare industry. You're going to deal with your health insurance carrier, and you're going to deal with the car insurance carrier on the other side of this accident, or the liability carrier for the store where you fell. These are all really large companies that make their money by not giving it to you. They are designed to make a profit. They're not designed to help you get better, or more importantly, to help you find everything that's been taken from you.
So true. And I think about that, and we've talked about this before, Matt, that, you know, when your child goes to school, your child has a teacher. When you sign your kid up for sports, your child has a coach. The way we look at ourselves is that we're your guide, your teacher. Just like it'd be not the best use of your time having your child be his own coach or your child be their own teacher, an attorney is an important factor in fully understanding what this process is all about and how to get through the process and looking out for what was in the best interest of you. So we always think about ourselves as being a guide through the process for our clients.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I would never try to teach my son how to play the snare drum, which he did for years in the marching band here in Cape. I couldn't teach him how to do that. I'd have to bring in an expert. And, many of my clients, when they come in to see us, they come in after trying for a year to deal with that health insurance carrier, to deal with that healthcare industry, to deal with the liability carrier on the other side. And forget not knowing how to deal with them. They don't have the time to deal with them. They have a life they have to live. They have kids they have to raise. And they're dealing with these large companies that really aren't acting in their best interest. And that's how a lot of people wind up getting to us. They come to us asking really for answers. How can they get better, and who's going to help them get better? And that leads them to a lot of medical treatment.
Absolutely. It's because in the beginning, I think it's difficult for clients to understand, like I said, how do I deal with my own health insurance company, or how do I deal with another party's insurance carrier? Because you're right. They're not looking out for their best interests. But as an attorney, we have a duty to make sure that we do everything we can to get you better. And so we are definitely an advocate on your side, as opposed to anyone else that you're dealing with is not necessarily going to be an advocate for you in your case.
Right. So tell the folks at home, if they or somebody they know has been hurt, has suffered an injury, when is it important to go see an attorney?
I would say immediately. It's immediately important to go see an attorney, because you want to get your case started off correctly. It's important that you don't make statements or say things that could hurt your case. It's important for you to get your case going off on the right foot. So I often say, it's best to get an attorney the same day or the next day after a crash. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's true whether or not, you don't know if your injury is small or large at the beginning. Most of the time, if you get in an accident, a lot of times you feel okay at the scene. You wake up the next day and people say, gosh, I feel like a truck hit me. Well, in many cases it did. You've got that situation where the pain begins to set in. And I've never had a client who knew what had been taken from them, who knew everything that was wrong with them within 48 hours of the crash. It can happen, but it's rare. And I've had clients who have had surgery immediately after an accident. I have a client now who got helivac'd to University Hospital in Columbia, had to have his leg put back together. He's now 6 weeks after the crash, but he doesn't yet know. He hasn't gotten back to doing all the things he loves to do, and he won't for a while. And so he doesn't know yet if he can go back to hiking the way he used to, or riding the bike the way he used to, or doing all the things physically that he used to do. So having that guide to help them advocate for themselves with their healthcare provider. You want that person to, you want that expert coach to get you through it.
Absolutely. And, it's not only what you're dealing with now or the next year, it's what you may be dealing with the rest of your life as far as injuries that you sustain because of this collision or crash. And it takes time to understand that. And like you said, it's important part of the process is having a guide that's going to kind of show you the path and help you through the ups and downs of of trying to get better from a personal injury matter.
Yeah. And where it really can get fruition is after somebody's hurt, your health insurance carrier is going to approve just a certain type of treatment. They might approve an x-ray. They might approve some medication or some physical therapy. What they won't necessarily allow you to get is, say, an MRI. And we're going to talk, after we take a break, about a case that Dan had that I think is really the poster child for this type of thing, where you could do an x-ray, but that's only going to show if you have a broken bone. Or, you can do some physical therapy, but that's only going to help the muscles around your spine. And you can even get some medication, and it might mask the symptoms that you're having. But what we see so often is that people can learn to sort of deal with what's wrong with them without actually finding out the root cause of what's wrong with them. And if you don't find out the root cause of what's wrong with you before you sign that release with the other liability carrier, then 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, you're going to discover that thief who broke in, they actually made something wrong with your spine. That accident actually changed physiologically your spine. And while you're able to mask it with some medication, you're able to strengthen your back a little bit to get by now, 10 years down the road, suddenly you're facing a surgery that costs between $150,000 and $200,000. And you're 10 years after you sign that release. It is vitally important that people, after they get hurt, find out everything that was wrong with them. The majority of people will not have a catastrophic injury, but you've got to find out. You've got to know. You've got to understand completely what your injuries are before you sign that release. If you don't, you only get one shot at this. And we've all had clients who have come to us after they signed the release, and we look at them and we say, there's just nothing we can do for you. Get the attorney involved early on. Because we can be your advocate, we can be your guide, we can be the only ones standing up for you against that health insurance carrier and against that liability carrier, and even helping you advocate with your doctor.
And that's it, because what we look for is to try to guide you through not only what your past medical bills are and the doctors you treated with, but also looking at what you may need in the future, and which often is the most largest part of the case is what kind of medical care you need in the future. And that goes for past pain and suffering and future pain and suffering. So, yeah, we look at your case in almost a 360-degree, view of what's going on with you in your life.
Yeah, and that's the importance of getting that expert coach involved early. That's the importance of going to an attorney early on in the process. When we come back after the break, we're going to get into a story about one of Dan's clients for whom he got a great result after a bumpy start. And talk in a little more detail, kind of give you an example of the sort of things we can do for you if you get into an accident. This is Tell Me I Have a Case. I'm Matt Glenn alongside Dan Grimm. We'll be back in just mere moments. Stick around.